The beginning of a new decade, 1980, a year in which the saints looked ahead. But as the saints looked ahead in 1980, they also looked back over 150 years of church history to give thanks, to reflect, to remember.
We're here this lovely Easter morning in the beautiful farmhouse of Peter Whitmer, Sr., in the very location where on April 6, 1830, where we're assembled a small group to formally organize the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Those remarks by President Spencer W. Kimball set the tone for much that the church and its members would do and say and feel in 1980.
This has been a glorious conference.
The Sunday morning session of the 150th General Conference of the Church was beamed by satellite from Fayette, New York to Salt Lake City. The proceedings were seen by the congregation on Temple Square on a large screen in the tabernacle.
This great Sesquicentennial conference has brought us all close to the beginning of this dispensation.
On March 26th, the date the first Book of Mormon was published 150 years earlier, Deseret Book Company presented facsimiles to the First Presidency. The facsimiles were produced to commemorate the Sesquicentennial and to recognize the most significant publishing event of the 19th century. In Palmyra, New York, E.B. Grandin first printed the book in 1830 in his shop. 5,000 were produced for $3,000. The First Presidency announced that Grandin's shop had been purchased and would be restored as a visitor center. 21 million copies of the Book of Mormon have been distributed worldwide since the first edition was published. In April, what is believed to be the oldest Mormon document was found. A handwritten sheet of paper with characters apparently copied directly from the gold plates and bearing the signature of Joseph Smith. The document was in a Bible once owned by the Smith family. The paper is most likely the one copied by the prophet and given to Martin Harris in 1828 for examination by Professor Charles Anthon. During the year, the Relief Society continued in their tradition of service. In the spring, the 1.4 million members of the Relief Society gave the church 2 sesquicentennial gifts: 35 redbud trees, which were planted near the church office building, and replicas of Monument to Women statues. Many events during the year reminded the saints of their precious pioneer heritage. When the church was young, the saints danced when they had reason to rejoice. And that's what they did on April 3rd at the Sesquicentennial Grand Ball. Participants, many wearing heirloom clothing, danced at 4 ballrooms in the city. General authorities led a grand march at each site. The Days of 47 parade, held annually in honor of the arrival of the first Mormon pioneers in Utah, had over 160 entries, many of which featured sesquicentennial themes. "1,000 young women of the church made their own banners and proudly marched with them, a highlight of the parade. The social hall, completed in 1853, was the center of pioneer social and cultural life in the Salt Lake Valley. President Kimball dedicated a replica of the historic structure on a 70-acre site being developed by the state of Utah near This Is the Place monument. In August, Boy Scouts from church units in 9 southern states gathered in Florida at the church's Deseret Ranch for a week of activity. Many church leaders visited the boys, including President of the Quorum of the 12, Ezra Taft Benson. The final event of the church's year-long Sesquicentennial celebration was the production of Zion, held in the tabernacle just prior to October Conference. It was a marvelous multimedia presentation that thrilled and inspired the thousands that viewed it. In June, in St. Louis, Missouri, over 10,000 gathered in the Checker Dome for the St. Louis Area Conference, one of 10 area conferences held during the year. In this same state in the early 1830s, Sidney Rigdon dedicated the land of Zion in Jackson County for the saints, and missions were undertaken among the Lamanites. The other area conferences were held in Rochester, New York, the first such conference in that locality since 1831, in Jackson, Mississippi, in Lakeland, Florida, in Pasadena, California, where 75,000 filled the Rose Bowl, the largest gathering of saints in church history. Area conferences were also held in 5 countries of the Far East in October and November: the Philippines, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. At the Tokyo conference, President Kimball summarized his feelings on church growth.
There have been many wonderful advances and growth in the whole church since it was organized in Fayette, New York on April 6, 1830. We have grown from that original band of 6 founding members to near 4.5 million today. For 85 of those 150 years, I have been a witness of that marvelous growth and expansion.
During the year, 15 new missions were organized, bringing the total number in the church to 190. Most of these new missions were abroad. By the end of 1980, the gospel was being taught by 31,400 full-time missionaries, the largest number in church history. They were laboring in 74 countries and 6 territories, teaching the gospel in 42 languages and dialects. They carried with them 32 translations of the Book of Mormon. By year's end, they were responsible for 211,000 convert baptisms, 60% of church growth in 1980. With membership of 4,638,000 in 1,218 states worldwide, it was clear in the church's 15th decade that missionary work had come a long way since Samuel Smith took the first missionary journey in 1830. And Heber C. Kimball established the first mission outside North America in 1837. President Spencer W. Kimball was honored on his birthday with a party held in the Hotel Utah and a celebration in the Tabernacle.
Privileged tonight to sit at the feet of a great man of God, this prophet of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Brothers and sisters, we welcome you tonight as we join in celebrating President Spencer W. Kimball's 85th birthday.
You know Arizona will be your new home. You know Arizona will be your new home.
To my beloved husband, on this, your 85th birthday, my heart is full of gratitude for the 62 years we have been privileged to share together. They have been years filled with joy and sadness. Sharing has made the joy more fulfilling and the sadness easier.
I am so deeply grateful to all who have presented this program. It's been most enlightening and most pleasant to relive again. It's really worth living 85 years just to get this kind of a program.
At the end of 1980, the composition of the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12 Apostles was as follows. Spencer W. Kimball, prophet, seer, and revelator, and president of the church. N. Eldon Tanner, first counselor in the First Presidency. Marion G. Romney, second counselor in the First Presidency. Ezra Taft Benson, president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And quorum members Mark E. Peterson, LeGrand Richards, Howard W. Hunter, Gordon B. Hinckley, Thomas S. Monson, Boyd K. Packer, Marvin J. Ashton, Bruce R. McConkie, L. Tom Perry, David B. Haight, and James E. Faust. The presidency of the First Quorum of the 70 was reorganized at April Conference. The presidency was comprised of Franklin D. Richards, J. Thomas Fyans, Neil A. Maxwell, with new members Carlos E. Acey, M. Russell Ballard, Dean L. Larson, and Royden G. Derrick, with quorum members Marion D. Hanks, A. Theodore Tuttle, Theodore M. Burton, Paul H. Dunn, Hartman Rector, Jr., Lauren C. Dunn, Robert L. Simpson, Rex D. Pinniger, W. Grant Bangerter, Robert D. Hales, Adney Y. Kamotsu, Joseph B. Worthlin, Gene R. Cook, Charles A. Didier, William R. Bradford, George P. Lee, John H. Groberg, Jacob D. Yager, Vaughn J. Featherstone, Robert E. Wells, G. Homer Durham, James M. Paramore, Richard G. Scott, Hugh W. Pinnock, F. Enzio Bouchard, Yoshihiko Kikuchi, Ronald E. Pullman, Derek A. Cuthbert, Robert L. Backman, Rex C. Reeve, Sr., F. Burton Howard, Teddy E. Brewerton, Jack H. Goseland, Jr. The presiding bishopric consisted of Victor L. Brown, H. Burke Peterson, and J. Richard Clark. In October conference, 2 more members of the First Quorum of 70 were given emeritus status: Elder Bernard P. Brockbank and Elder O. Leslie Stone. The Saints lost a devoted leader in July. Elder William H. Bennett, an emeritus member of the First Quorum of the 70, died at his Bountiful, Utah home. Elder Bennett had been called in 1970 as an assistant to the Council of the 12 and had served as a mission president, member of the Priesthood Missionary and Welfare Committees, and regional representative. The Second World Conference on Records was held at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City in August. It began with an opening ceremony in which President Kimball announced plans to build near Temple Square a new genealogical library and a museum of church history and art. Over 11,000 people from 30 countries attended the conference.
In this momentous year of the celebration of the Sesquicentennial of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we bring you the proceedings of a special meeting for young women.
In March, 10,000 gathered on Temple Square for the largest meeting ever of the Young Women's Organization. It was broadcast to thousands of others at 1,900 locations church-wide. When the organization was founded in 1869, it was known as the Young Ladies Retrenchment Association and consisted entirely of Brigham Young's daughters. Another auxiliary, the primary, received a new general presidency at April conference. Dwan J. Young was sustained as president, with counselors Virginia B. Cannon and Michaeline P. Grassley. In March, saints in the United States and Canada started meeting on a new schedule, a 3-hour block on Sundays. The change was made to put more emphasis on the family, to give family members more time to be together, for personal study, for Christian service, and for community and civic affairs on other days of the week. In May, Dallin H. Oaks, in his 9th year as president of the Brigham Young University, was released by the BYU Board of Trustees with highest commendation for exceptional service. Jeffrey R. Holland, who had served as Church Commissioner of Education for the previous 4 years, succeeded Dallin Oaks on August 1st. The new president, BYU's 9th, was inaugurated November 14th. Dr. Henry B. Eyring was named Commissioner of Education to replace Jeffrey Holland. Dr. Eyring had previously served as Deputy Commissioner of Education for 3 years. Brigham Young's prophecy that one day there would be hundreds of temples seemed, in this sesquicentennial year, to be on its way to fulfillment.
We're going to proceed and continue with this program of building temples in all parts of the world. And we begin by announcing today that we will build 7 temples at this time, and they to be followed by other announcements as time goes forward.
The 7 temples would be built in 7 different countries. Santiago, Chile, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Sydney, Australia, Nuku'alofa, Tonga, Apia, Western Samoa, Papeete, Tahiti, and Atlanta, Georgia. 2 other temples, the church's 18th and 19th, the Tokyo and Seattle, were completed and dedicated in the fall. The Tokyo Temple was the first temple built by the church in the Orient. President Marion G. Romney laid the cornerstone in a ceremony preceding the dedication. A total of 7 dedicatory services were held, the first being in the temple, with the remaining services in the large Tokyo Stake Center to accommodate the crowds attending.
We think the temple is all that we expected. It'll be a matter of joy to many people for many years.
Dedication is so great and very blessing to us, not only Japanese people, whole of Asia people.
It's just been a wonderful experience to have all these people from all over Japan and Asia come to the temple to participate in the dedication. The spirit was just beautiful.
The Seattle Temple, located in beautiful Bellevue, Washington, was the first temple built in the Pacific Northwest. The first presidency, Spencer W. Kimball, N. Eldon Tanner, and Marion G. Romney were all in attendance. President Kimball presided and offered, as in Tokyo, the dedicatory prayer.
We have assembled here today to participate in one of the most significant events that occurs in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the dedication of a house of the Lord.
Throughout the year, work went forward on the Mexico and Jordan River temples. Since the dedication of the first temple of this dispensation in Kirtland, Ohio, the church has dedicated 20 additional holy temples to the Lord. From the restoration of the gospel through the prophet Joseph Smith to the present day, the church has been richly blessed with great men of God to lead them as prophets, seers, and revelators. Today, church leaders encourage members to move ahead as a confident, committed people, looking back with deep appreciation and pushing forward, secure in the knowledge that what began a century and a half ago in a common log cabin is well on its way to the goal of filling the earth, touching every nation, kindred, tongue, and people.